Everybody, this is Dan from Cerberus LiveScan, and welcome back to another edition of Solutions for the Firearm Industry. This is going to be take two because apparently I tried to fix something and broke it. So the last one I did publish yesterday had no audio. So and with that, I'm going to put out. This is thank you to Ken Dewey. Reached out to me last night and said that I suck at this podcasting and didn't have any audio. So if you're in the Albany, Oregon area or you need something, Rogue Trading Post out in Albany, Oregon, Ken is your guy. This is his website. It is rougetradingpost.com. And he had reached out and kindly informed me that I did not have any audio on the podcast. So he's a new SOT, waiting for July 1st here to get going. But if you need something for your firearm or your silencer or NFA needs, please reach out to Ken, roguetradingpost.com or roguetradingpost@gmail.com. Again, Ken, thank you very much for reaching out. I appreciate it. So back to this episode. Episode 5, we're going to talk about eForms and customer registration. Previous episodes, we talked about how to get your SOT, how to sign up your eForms account for the FFL. We talked about different types of submissions and what types we can do. We talked about the forms. And now that we understand those pieces, we're going to talk about how to get our customer registered so that we can actually submit a Form 4. Every Form 4 needs at least one registered eForm account for a customer. So if they're an individual, that individual needs to have their account registered. If it's a trust and you have 2 or 3 people on the trust that are active co-trustees, then only one or at least one needs to have their eForm account created. And we're going to talk through that. I'm going to show you how to do it manually on the eForms website. And then I'm also going to show you how Cerberus can do it to help speed some things up and accuracy and point out a couple pitfalls as we go through this. Okay, so Google here, gone to eforms.atf.gov. Up on top, it's going to get you the blue screen that you'll soon become used to working with. We have the login button. That's what we're going to do to actually transact forms, check on statuses, etc. But first, we're going to start here on this green button, which is register or create an eForms account, the register button. So we click on that. It's going to open up this, form piece. And then we put in our customer data. So we're going to do, say, johnsmith@gmail.com. I'm going to put that back in again. So one thing to note on this email address, your customer has to be able to access it at the shop. So the eForms used to generate the eForm ID, the username up top. They changed that about a month or so ago. So now they will email the registration data to the customer. They have to be able to access that either on their phone or they have to be able to log into it. So it actually has to be a valid email address. Make sure it's spelled right, because immediately after registration, they're going to email you or email the customer the eForms account that we need to put in. So I'm going to do John James Smith. This can be whatever. Usually it's owner or it'll become purchaser. It doesn't really matter. Country, United States, phone number, 555. And then address, 1234 Main Street. So one thing to put on here too. So this needs to match the driver's license or whatever. If you're going to use Cerberus, what you scan in. At the end of the eForms process, there is a letter for letter, space for space validation on the data that you're putting here. So James, it needs to be James on the eForm application. If it's J on one of these and James on the other one, it's going to fail validation and you're going to get an error. And we'll talk about those errors in a future episode. The other side here too is that ST does not equal street when it comes to validation. Letter for letter, space for space, hyphen for hyphen, whatever it is on the addresses, it's got to match 100% letter for letter. Zip code kind of stuff. So let's do here 5305, put field. There are times when you'll have a zip code that is a rural address or it has more cities to it, and you'll get a drop down here. You have to pick the appropriate one, and it's got to be the same one that you pick on the Form 4 in the future. For example, Mount Pleasant. 2 words. The abbreviation can show up as MT Pleasant or MT, some spelling funky, or the full word, Mount Pleasant. Got to make sure you pick the right one when you're doing it, and the same one consistently through it. So that's the customer data. And then from here, they would own the bottom half of this form. So the security question, they pick that, they answer that. The hardest part is going to be the 12 characters, as well as it can't match anything on the username, first name, last name. It can't be a part of the password type pieces. So this is especially difficult, honestly, for some of your older customers. They have one password pattern that they try to use and run, and it's usually about 8 characters. So the 12 characters can be problematic. Nothing you can do about it. They gotta figure it out. And then the PIN, 4-digit PIN that they would put in, and that's what we're going to use to sign. That's what they're going to use to sign the form 4 at the end of the transaction. It's also what they would use to sign their form 1 if they're going to make something for themselves. So again, email is very important. The spelling on that, make sure they can access it so that when we do the submittal and the registration form goes in, they will get an email about 30 seconds later and that will have their ID. Typically, it's going to be some combination, like this one would be J Smith and then some numbers, but also pay attention to the last name and how it is. It's only about 4 or 5 characters in the username. So if they have, say, a Jones, their user ID might actually be J Joan, not Jones, and then 5 numbers. And that will cause a failure later on at the eForm side of it. Humans will read their last name and assume it's all there, but sometimes it is not. Depends on how the system truncates it for their user ID, but something just to pay attention to. So this is the manual side of it. I'm also going to show you Cerberus here quickly, how we fill this out on Cerberus. This is the main page from Cerberus LiveScan. Your customers all get organized here on this list. We can filter and search for the ones we want to. And I'm going to work on this John Jacob Smith. I'm going to click on this eForm autofiller button, and it's going to bring up a very similar screen that we just had on the eForm side. And it looks like this. Has a few more buttons and features. The website actually is in the background here that we're using on the eForm site, and some other buttons. So we click on this register button inside of here. It's going to bring up that exact same document or web page. And then because I already have the data in Cerberus, I'm going to autofill as much as I can. It's going to prompt me to fix one thing on here. If you notice, the phone number is all numbers. To trigger the formatting on the ATF, I hit a space bar, and now those numbers are in. But just like that, all this information filled. And I put a dummy zip code in here. And now it's going to grab that. So I can pick that one. And I'm back to the same spot. Customer owns the security question. Customer is responsible for their password and their PIN. That's their information. We're not supposed to have it. So they would put all that piece in. They would do "I'm not a robot," and then they would pick crosswalks, fire hydrants, motorcycles, bicycle cart, whatever, whatever they're going to do. Actually, maybe I can trigger it. Oh, it took it. So, but typically it's going to pop up a 9 square panel of pictures and say pick the ones that have a blank in it. And then we hit register, and it's going to take us back to the blue eForms page, as well as email the client at this email their eForm ID and a welcome email. It'll be 2 emails they're going to get. So once I get those emails, then you can go through and you can begin the eForm application process. We'll talk about that on the next episode. The episode after that, we're going to talk about some of the eForm errors. So join us for those. And then that's it for this episode. Again, shout out to Ken Dewey of Rougetradingpost in Albany, Oregon. Appreciate you reaching out and telling me that I screwed up the last podcast. I do actually greatly appreciate in some of the conversation we had about what some topics you want to see. So I'll work those in and we'll talk through some of those. So if you need something in the Albany area or in Oregon, reach out to Ken. He'll take care of you. If you like what we're doing, check out the podcast, hit that like and share button and share it with those that need to know what's going on. We're available on Amazon Music, iHeart, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast, and also on YouTube as well. But those likes help get the word out and give us feedback or give us a comment on what else you want to see. But Cerberus Software Solutions, predominantly on Spotify. Our website is petersonfarmsusa.com. That is our retail side, as well as you can get access on our 2 products, Merlin, which is the distribution search tool, and LiveScan. LiveScan is here, and this is your customer EFT NFA tool that will help speed things up and make sure you get the forms in accurately. And for repeat sales, it's awesome. Merlin is our distribution warehouse search tool. right now 12 different data sources that can pull in, and we can order from 8 of them. So if these guys are on your list, so Hicks, Chattanooga, Davison's, Gun Accessory, GSL, Iron Valley, Lipsy's, our Merlin Marketplace, where we're supplying some suppressors for some of our partners and customers. Orion, RSR, Sports South, and Xanders, we can pull data feeds from, and then we can order from Hicks, Bill Hicks, the big one. Chattanooga is working, Davison's, Gun Accessory, GSL, the Merlin Marketplace you can order from, RSR, Sports South, and then Xanders all have order functionality into it now. And if you want to find out more information, fill out the form here. Happy to talk you through it, but those are our products. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Solutions for the Firearm Industry. Look forward to sharing the eForm process next week's episode, and thank you.